Jake Martinez stared at the rent notice on his kitchen table for the third time that morning. The red letters seemed to get bigger each time he looked at them. Late payment. Final notice. Eviction in 7 days. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked around his small apartment. The place was a mess. Books about alien biology covered every surface. Empty coffee cups sat on top of research papers. His laptop showed 17 open tabs about different alien species. The money from his part-time job at the campus bookstore was not enough. His student loans barely covered tuition. His parents back in Texas could not help. They were still paying off his sister's medical bills. Jake picked up his phone and scrolled through the job listings again. Nothing new. Nothing that paid enough. Nothing that would let him keep his class schedule. Then he saw it. The ad he had been ignoring for weeks. Interspecies housing program. Earn $800 per month hosting an alien exchange student. Safe species only. Government approved. Apply today. $800. That would cover rent and groceries. Maybe even let him buy new textbooks instead of borrowing them from the library. Jake had seen the program on the news. Rich families in the suburbs hosted friendly aliens who looked almost human. The Zenari were popular. They had blue skin and big eyes but walked on 2 legs and spoke perfect English. Some families even became famous for their alien guests. But Jake lived in a tiny apartment near the university. Not exactly the kind of place that attracted high-class aliens. He clicked the link anyway. The application was long. Background check, financial information, living space photos, emergency contacts. A whole section about his knowledge of alien cultures. Jake wrote about his xenobiology studies. He mentioned his research on interspecies communication. He tried to sound smart and responsible. 3 days later, his phone rang. Hello, this is Linda Hayes from the Interspecies Housing Program. Is this Jake Martinez? Yes, that's me. Wonderful news. Your application has been approved. We have an exchange student who needs housing starting next week. Jake's heart jumped. Really? That's great. What species are they? There was a pause. The student is from the Vorthak species. Very intelligent, studying Earth biology. Jake frowned. He had never heard of the Vorthak. Are they ... humanoid? Another pause. Well, they're perfectly safe. The government has approved all species in our program. Nothing to worry about? But what do they look like? I'll email you the basic information. The student's name is Kethver. They'll arrive Monday at 2 p.m. Just be yourself and everything will be fine. The call ended before Jake could ask more questions. He immediately searched Vorthak on his laptop. Almost nothing came up. A few scientific papers with most of the text blocked out. One blurry photo that looked like it might be a rock formation. The email from Linda arrived an hour later. It was short. Kethver is a graduate student studying Earth ecosystems. Dietary requirements: raw meat, preferably fresh. Temperature preference: 75 to 80 degrees. Sleeping schedule: nocturnal. Communication: through translation device. Perfectly safe for human contact. Raw meat? Nocturnal? Jake's stomach twisted. He called the program office. I'm sorry, Mr. Martinez, but all housing assignments are final. Kethver has already been notified of the placement. We can't make changes now, but I don't know anything about this species. What if we're not compatible? I assure you, all aliens in our program have been thoroughly screened. Kethver has excellent references from their homeworld. Jake hung up feeling worse than before. But $800 was $800. How bad could it be? He spent the weekend cleaning his apartment and buying groceries. He got different types of raw meat from the butcher shop. The old man behind the counter gave him strange looks when he asked for the freshest pieces you have. Monday came too fast. At exactly 2 p.m., there was a knock on Jake's door. Not a normal knock, more like scratching. Long scrapes against the wood. Jake took a deep breath and opened the door. His brain stopped working. The thing in the hallway was not humanoid. Not even close. It stood 8 feet tall on 6 legs that looked like black metal. Its body was covered in what looked like dark crystal plates. 6 arms emerged from its torso, each ending in hands with too many fingers. Its head was triangular with multiple eyes that glowed red in the dim light. Mandibles clicked constantly. Around a mouth full of sharp teeth, the creature spoke, but the words came from a small device attached to its chest. The voice was flat and electronic. "Greetings. I am Kethver of the Vorthek. You are Jake Martinez. I am here for educational exchange." Jake could not move, could not speak. His legs felt like water. "I have brought my belongings." Kethver gestured, with two of his arms toward several metal containers in the hallway. "Where shall I place them?" Jake's voice cracked. Are you experiencing distress?" "Your scent indicates fear." Jake forced himself to step back. "Come in, please." Kethver moved into the apartment with surprising grace despite his size. His legs made soft clicking sounds on the floor. He turned his head to examine everything, all of his eyes moving independently. "This dwelling is smaller than expected, but adequate." Jake finally found his voice. "The bedroom is yours. I'll sleep on the couch. That is acceptable." Kethver's translation device buzzed. "I must inform you of my habits to prevent misunderstandings. I am active during night hours. I require fresh meat for nourishment. I will need to practice hunting exercises to maintain my skills." "Hunting exercises?" "Stalking, pouncing, prey capture simulation, standard Vorthek maintenance activities." Jake felt dizzy. "In the apartment? Where else would I practice?" One of Kethver's containers started making noise, scratching and chittering sounds. "What's in there? Live food." "Your earth meat lacks proper nutrition when dead too long." Jake sat down hard on his couch. What had he gotten himself into? Kethver began moving his containers into the bedroom. Jake watched those 6 arms work with perfect coordination. Each movement was precise and efficient, like a predator. "I have studied human customs," Kethver said as he worked. "I understand you prefer verbal communication during shared activities. What topics do you find engaging?" Jake stared at the alien unpacking in his bedroom. The creature had to duck to fit through the doorway. His furniture looked tiny next to Kethver's bulk. "I study xenobiology," Jake managed to say. Kethver's eyes all focused on him at once. "Excellent. We will have much to discuss. I am eager to learn about human research methods." As the day went on, Jake realized his life had changed completely. Kethver was polite but terrifying. Every movement was predatory. Those red eyes never stopped watching. The constant clicking of mandibles made Jake's skin crawl. When evening came, Kethver became more active. He started his hunting exercises in the living room. Jake watched in horror as the alien stalked imaginary prey around his furniture. Those 6 arms moved like striking snakes. His speed was incredible. "This is normal behavior?" Jake asked. "Essential for health. Vorthek who do not practice hunting become weak and sick." Jake lay on his couch that night listening to scratching and clicking sounds from his bedroom. Kethver was nocturnal. This was just the beginning. He had signed up for $800 a month. He was starting to think. No amount of money was worth this, but he needed that money. And maybe somehow this would work out. Maybe. Jake woke up to the sound of his coffee table breaking. He jumped off the couch and saw Kethver standing over the remains of his furniture. The alien's 6 arms were frozen in place. His red eyes stared at the broken wood. "I apologize," the translation device said. "I miscalculated the weight tolerance of your furniture." Jake looked at the mess. The table was completely destroyed. Splinters everywhere. "It's okay. I guess I will replace it." "With what? Alien furniture?" Kethver's mandibles clicked faster. "I do not understand human sarcasm detection protocols." Jake rubbed his face. He had been living with Kethver for 3 days, 3 very long days. The apartment was already showing damage. Acid marks on the kitchen counter where Kethver prepared his food. Claw scratches on the walls from his hunting practice. The bathroom door hung crooked after Kethver tried to fit through it. "I need coffee," Jake muttered. He walked to the kitchen and started his morning routine. Kethver followed, moving silently despite his size. Jake was getting used to being watched. Those red eyes tracked his every movement. You consume the same liquid every morning, Kethver observed. Is this a religious ritual? It's just coffee? It helps me wake up. Humans require stimulants to achieve consciousness? How inefficient. Jake poured his coffee and tried to ignore the alien studying him. He had learned that Kethver commented on everything. Human habits were apparently fascinating to him. I have been researching human behavior, Kethver continued. Your species exhibits many contradictory patterns. Like what? You claim to value honesty, yet you engage in constant deception. You say, "How are you?" but do not wish to know the actual health status of others. You smile when experiencing discomfort. Jake sipped his coffee. It's called being polite. A politeness. Is dishonesty? No, it's complicated. Kethver's translation device buzzed with what sounded like frustration. Earth social protocols are more complex than Vorthek military strategy. Jake's phone rang. Amy was calling. His girlfriend of 8 months? He had been avoiding her calls since Kethver arrived. Hello? Jake, finally. I've been trying to reach you for days. Are you okay? I'm fine. Just busy with the new roommate situation. Right, the exchange student. When do I get to meet them? I'm free this afternoon. Jake looked at Kethver, who was currently examining the toaster with intense interest. Maybe we should wait a bit. They're still adjusting. Come on, Jake. How weird can an alien student be? I saw those Zanari students on campus. They're adorable. Amy, this one is different. Different how? Before Jake could answer, Kethver spoke loudly. Jake Martinez, why does your voice pattern change when speaking to this Amy entity? Your stress indicators have increased significantly. Amy's voice came through the phone. Who was that? They sound strange. That's Kethver, my roommate. Great, put them on. I wanted to say hello, Jake panicked. Amy, I don't think. But Kethver had already moved closer. His translation device activated. Greetings, Amy entity. I am Kethver of the Vorthek. I am studying human social structures through observation of Jake Martinez. Silence on the phone. Long silence. Amy, you there? Jake, her voice was tight. What kind of alien are you living with? I'll explain later. I have to go. He hung up. Quickly, Kethver tilted his triangular head. Did I violate a social protocol? Amy entity ceased communication abruptly. She's just surprised. Humans don't usually meet Vorthek. This is accurate. My species rarely interacts with others. We are considered difficult to socialize with. Why? Kethver's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Other species find us intimidating. They fear our appearance and natural behaviors. We are predators from a death world. Most aliens prefer to avoid us. Jake set down his coffee cup. So why did you come to Earth? I volunteered for this assignment. I wish to understand why humans were accepted into the Galactic Confederation so quickly. Most species require centuries of evaluation. And humans are confusing. You appear weak and harmless, yet other species speak of you with caution. You have no natural weapons, minimal physical strength, and primitive technology. But you are treated as equals. Jake felt a weird sense of pride. Maybe we're tougher than we look, perhaps. Though I have observed you struggle to open food containers. That afternoon, Jake's best friend Chris Thompson came to visit. Jake had tried to warn him, but Chris insisted on meeting the alien roommate. The meeting did not go well. Chris took one look at Kethver and backed toward the door. What the hell is that thing? Chris, meet Kethver. Kethver, this is Chris. Kethver approached with his usual silent grace. Greetings, Chris Thompson. Jake Martinez has mentioned you frequently. You are classified as his primary social companion. Chris stared at the 8-foot alien with 6 arms and glowing red eyes. Jake, can I talk to you outside? They stepped into the hallway. Chris grabbed Jake's arm. Dude, what is that? That's not like those cute aliens on TV. That thing looks like it could eat us. He's perfectly safe. The government approved him. Safe? It has fangs and too many arms. And did you see how it moves? Like a giant spider? His name is Kethver, and he's just here to study. Study what? How to hunt humans? Jake sighed. You're being dramatic. Am I? Jake, that thing is a nightmare. How are you sleeping at night knowing it's in your apartment? I'm not sleeping much, Jake admitted. Then why are you doing this? Because I need the money. You know I can't afford rent without this program. Chris shook his head. There has to be another way. Get a different alien. Request a transfer. I already tried. They said all assignments are final. When they went back inside, Kethver was examining Chris's jacket with intense interest. Your outer garment contains synthetic fibers, Kethver observed. Why do humans wear artificial coverings? Because we get cold, Chris said nervously. Your internal temperature regulation is insufficient for your environment? How did your species survive long enough to develop civilization? Chris looked at Jake with wide eyes. I have to go. Call me later. After Chris left, Jake felt more isolated than ever. His girlfriend was avoiding him. His best friend was scared. Even his neighbors had started giving him strange looks. That evening, Jake tried to study while Kethver conducted his hunting practice. The alien moved around the living room like a deadly shadow. His 6 legs carried him silently across the floor. His 6 arms reached and grabbed with perfect coordination. You seem distressed, Kethver said during a break in his exercise. My friends don't like you. This is expected. Fear is a common response to Vorthak presence. Doesn't that bother you? Kethver's red eyes focused on Jake. I am accustomed to fear reactions. What puzzles me is your behavior. What do you mean? You show fear responses, yet you continue to cohabitate with me. You provide food and shelter despite obvious distress. This behavior contradicts standard survival instincts. Jake thought about it. Maybe I'm just stubborn. Or perhaps humans are stranger than other species realize. Late that night, Jake lay on his couch listening to the sounds from his bedroom. Scratching, clicking, occasional thuds. Kethver was nocturnal and active, but tonight Jake heard something different. Kethver was talking to someone. The conversation was in an alien language that his translation device wasn't converting. Jake crept closer to the bedroom door. The sounds were rhythmic. Like a phone call or video chat, the alien language was harsh and clicking. But Jake caught something in the tone, stress, maybe even fear. Kethver sounded just as worried as Jake felt for the first time since his roommate arrived. Jake wondered if maybe he wasn't the only one struggling with this arrangement. Maybe Kethver was scared, too. Jake had been living with Kethver for 2 weeks when he started noticing things. Strange things. It began with the other exchange students in his building. Jake had seen them around before but never paid much attention. Now he was more aware of aliens in general. There was Zixtel on the 3rd floor, supposedly a Meridian student studying human art, but Jake noticed that Zixtel asked a lot of questions about the military base outside the city, questions that seemed odd for an art student. Then there was Nora from the 2nd floor. She claimed to be researching human agriculture. But Jake overheard her asking Mrs. Chun about the city's water treatment facilities and power grid locations. And yesterday, Jake saw Veltar talking to the building manager about the basement storage area. Veltar was supposed to be studying human literature. Why would he care about storage spaces? Jake mentioned his observations to Kethver during one of their awkward breakfast conversations. You have noticed behavioral inconsistencies in other residents, Kethver said. His mandibles clicked faster than usual. Yeah, they ask weird questions. Questions that don't match what they're supposed to be studying. Kethver's 6 red eyes focused intently on Jake. Describe these questions in detail. Jake told him about the military base inquiries, the infrastructure questions, and the storage area interest. As he talked, Kethver became very still. Even his constant mandible clicking stopped. This is concerning, the translation device finally said. Why? On my homeworld, we learned to recognize predatory behavior. These aliens display hunting patterns. Hunting patterns? Information gathering, territory mapping, weakness identification. They are studying your kind for purposes other than education. Jake felt cold. What kind of purposes? Unknown. But Their behavior indicates hostile intent. That afternoon, Jake decided to test his theory. He approached Zixtel in the lobby and struck up a casual conversation. "How's the art studies going?" Jake asked. Zixtel as translator buzzed. "Very educational. Human creativity is fascinating. Tell me, do you know much about the defensive systems around the city?" "Defensive systems?" "For protecting art installations, of course, against vandalism." Jake knew there were no outdoor art installations near the military base. "Not really. Why do you ask?" "Academic curiosity. I noticed many human vehicles traveling toward the northern sector." "Military vehicles? They must be protecting something valuable." Jake's stomach dropped. "I wouldn't know about that." That evening, he shared the conversation with Kethver. The alien's reaction was immediate and alarming. "This confirms my suspicions. Zixtel is conducting reconnaissance." "Reconnaissance for what?" "Invasion, conquest, resource extraction. The pattern is unmistakable." Jake sat down hard on his damaged couch. "But the government approved all these. Aliens, they're supposed to be safe." "Your government approved the false identities these infiltrators provided. They do not know the true nature of these individuals. How can you tell?" Kethver's 6 arms gestured in complex patterns. "Vorthak. Our apex predators. We recognize deception instinctively. These aliens emit false scent. Their behavior patterns indicate pack hunting strategies." "Pack hunting?" "Coordinated group attacks. Multiple individuals working together to take down larger prey." Jake felt sick. "What kind of prey?" "Your species. Your world." Over the next few days, Jake and Kethver began watching the other exchange students more carefully. What they discovered made Jake's blood run cold. The aliens were definitely working together. Jake saw them meeting in small groups. They shared information through subtle gestures and coded language. They took photos of building layouts, security, cameras, and emergency exits. Most disturbing of all, they were asking humans about Unity Day. Unity Day was next week, the biggest celebration since first contact with aliens 15 years ago. World leaders from every nation would gather in New Chicago to celebrate peace and cooperation between species. Millions of people would attend the festival. They are planning something during the celebration. Kethver concluded after observing a secret meeting between 5 exchange students. "What can we do? Who would believe us?" "Unknown. But we must gather evidence of their deception." "We?" Kethver read. Eyes met Jake's. "You have shown me unexpected kindness despite your fear. I will not allow harm to come to you or your people." At night, they began their investigation. Jake used his human social skills to get close to the infiltrators. He pretended to be interested in their cultures and asked innocent questions. Meanwhile, Kethver used his predatory abilities to track their movements. His silent hunting skills made him nearly invisible when following targets. His enhanced senses could detect emotions and lies through scent and body language. What they learned was terrifying. The infiltrators weren't just students. They had replaced government workers, security guards, and even some police officers. The exchange program had been compromised for months, maybe years. The false aliens called themselves the Hegemony. They came from a militant faction that opposed the peaceful Galactic Confederation. They wanted to prove that humans were dangerous and unworthy of alien alliance. Their plan was brilliant and horrible. During Unity Day, they would attack the celebration and frame Kethver's species for the violence. The Vorthak were already feared by most aliens. A terrorist attack blamed on them would destroy human-alien relations forever. "Why frame your people?" Jake asked. "We are convenient targets. Other species already fear us." No one would question our guilt, but you're innocent. Truth is irrelevant when fear controls perception. Jake felt anger burning in his chest. These infiltrators were going to hurt innocent people and destroy his roommate's reputation. The same roommate he had been terrified of 2 weeks ago. "We have to stop them." "Agreed. But how?" "We have no authority, no weapons, no backup." Jake thought about it. "We have something they don't expect." "What?" "Each other. A human and a Vorthak working together." They planned for human stupidity and Vorthak isolation. They didn't plan for cooperation. Kethver's mandibles clicked in what Jake had learned. Was amusement. You are suggesting we become the hunters instead of the prey. Exactly. This is dangerous. These infiltrators will not hesitate to eliminate threats. I know, but we can't just let them hurt people. Kethver studied Jake with all 6 eyes. You continue to surprise me, Jake Martinez. Most species would hide when faced with superior predators. Maybe humans are more stubborn than smart. Or perhaps humans are the true apex predators of this galaxy. That night, they made their plan. Jake would continue gathering intelligence through social contact. Kethver would use his tracking abilities to map the infiltrators, network, and identify their leaders. They had 5 days until Unity Day. 5 days to expose a conspiracy that had been months in the making. 5 days to prevent an attack that could destroy human-alien relations forever. As Jake lay on his couch that night, he realized something had changed. He wasn't afraid of Kethver anymore. The alien's predatory nature, his hunting instincts, his intimidating appearance, all of it was now on Jake's side. For the first time since his roommate had arrived, Jake felt safe. The infiltrators had made one critical mistake. They had assumed that humans and Vorthak would remain isolated and suspicious of each other. They never considered that fear could turn into trust, or that 2 completely different species could become allies. They were about to learn that humans weren't as helpless as they appeared, and that Vorthak weren't just mindless predators. The real hunt was about to begin. Jake's hands shook as he adjusted the tiny camera hidden in his jacket pocket. 3 days until Unity Day, 3 days to gather enough evidence to stop the hegemony. Remember, Kethver whispered through the small earpiece Jake wore. Act natural. Show curiosity but not suspicion. Jake nodded and walked into the campus coffee shop where he had arranged to meet Nora H. The hegemony infiltrator sat at a corner table, her blue-scaled appearance making her look like a harmless Aquarian student. Jake, thank you for meeting me, Noroff said as he sat down. Her translator made her voice sound sweet and friendly. No problem. You said you wanted to know more about human agriculture? Yes, exactly. I am particularly interested in food distribution systems. How does your species transport nourishment to large populations? Jake had practiced this conversation with Kethver. Well, we have trucks and trains that move food from farms to cities. Fascinating, and during large gatherings? Like your upcoming Unity Day celebration? How do you feed so many people? Usually food trucks and vendors set up around the event area. Noroff leaned forward. Where exactly do these vendors obtain their supplies? Are there central distribution points? Jake felt his pulse quicken. She was asking about ways to poison the food supply. I'm not really sure about the details. Perhaps you could find out? I would be very grateful for such information. Why? Do you need to know? Noroff's expression flickered for just a moment. Academic research, of course. I am writing a paper on human logistics. Jake forced a smile. I'll see what I can learn. After the meeting, Jake hurried back to his apartment. Kethver was waiting in the living room, all 6 eyes focused on him. She is definitely planning to contaminate the food supply, Kethver said after Jake described the conversation. This confirms our intelligence about multiple attack vectors. Over the past 3 days, they had uncovered a terrifying network. The hegemony had at least 20 infiltrators in the city. They had people in security positions, government offices, and emergency services. The attack would come from multiple directions at once. What did you learn from following Veltar? Jake asked. He met with 3 others at the old warehouse district. They were examining building blueprints and discussing explosive placement. Jake's stomach dropped. Explosives? The structures they plan to target include the main stage where your world leaders will speak. We have to tell someone. The police. The FBI, someone. Kethver's mandibles clicked nervously. We tried, remember? 2 days ago, Jake had called the police tip line. He told them about suspicious alien behavior and possible terrorist planning. The officer had taken his name and number and promised to investigate. Nothing happened yesterday. Jake had tried the FBI. They transferred him 3 times before hanging up. They think we are paranoid humans afraid of aliens, Kethver said. Or worse, they think I am the real threat. What do you mean? Think about it, Jake Martinez. A human calls to report alien terrorists, and he is living with a Vorthek. Which story sounds more believable? That 20 respected exchange students are secret agents, or that one Vorthak has influenced a human to spread fear? Jake realized Kethver was right. To outside observers, Jake looked like someone who had been brainwashed or threatened by his scary alien roommate. So we're on our own. Yes, but we have advantages they do not expect. Like what? Kethver stood and moved to the window. His 6 arms gestured toward the city. They planned this operation assuming human weakness and Vorthak isolation. They did not account for cooperation between our species. But what can 2 people do against 20 trained infiltrators? We think differently than they do. You use creativity and social manipulation. I use predatory instincts and physical capability. Together, we can disrupt their coordination. That evening, they put their plan into action. Jake's job was to create chaos in the infiltrators' communication network. He used his knowledge of social media and human technology to spread confusion. He created fake profiles and started rumors about security changes for Unity Day. He sent anonymous tips to news stations about terrorist threats, making sure each tip pointed in a different direction. Meanwhile, Kethver began hunting the infiltrators. Directly, the Vorthek's natural abilities made him nearly invisible when he wanted to be. He could move silently through the city at night, tracking individual infiltrators to their safe houses. He planted listening devices in their meeting places. He followed their supply runs and mapped their weapon storage locations, but the infiltrators were professionals. They began to notice the surveillance. On the night before Unity Day, everything went wrong. Jake was returning from planting a fake tip about a bomb threat when he noticed he was being followed. 2 aliens he recognized from the building were keeping pace behind him, trying to look casual. He pulled out his phone and called Kethver. I think I'm in trouble. Where are you? 3 blocks from home, 2 hostiles following. Change direction. Head toward the old industrial area. I will intercept. Jake turned down a side street and increased his pace. The aliens followed. He could hear their footsteps getting closer. Jake Martinez, one of them called out. We wish to speak with you. Jake started running. The chase through the dark streets was terrifying. The aliens were faster and stronger than humans. Jake's only advantage was knowing the neighborhood better. He ducked through alleys and jumped over fences. Behind him, he could hear the aliens gaining ground. Their heavy breathing and frustrated curses filled the night air. Jake rounded a corner and found himself in a dead-end alley. He spun around to face his pursuers. The 2 aliens approached slowly, confident now that he was trapped. You have been asking too many questions, human, the first one said. Interfering with matters beyond your understanding. We know you are working with the Vorthek, the second added. That creature has corrupted your mind. Kethver didn't corrupt anything. He opened my eyes. The aliens laughed. Pathetic. Your species' weakness for emotional attachment will be your downfall. They moved closer, reaching for weapons. Then Kethver dropped from the fire escape above them. 8 feet of predatory. Alien landed silently behind the infiltrators. His 6 arms moved with deadly precision. Before either alien could react, Kethver had disarmed them and pinned them against the brick wall. You chose the wrong human to threaten, Kethver's translator said calmly. The infiltrators struggled against his grip, but Vorthak's strength was far beyond their capabilities. Your operation is compromised, Kethver continued. We know about the food poisoning, the explosives, and the frame job. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. You cannot stop us all, Death Worlder, one of the aliens gasped. Our people are already in position. Tomorrow your alliance with these softskins dies. Kethver's red eyes glowed brighter. Perhaps, but you will not live to see it. Wait, Jake said. Don't kill them yet. We need information. Kethver looked At him with surprise. They would not hesitate to eliminate us. I know, but we're better than they are. That's the point. Jake approached the captured aliens. Tell us where the bombs are planted, and we'll let you live. Never. Then you can explain to your families why you died for nothing when your plan fails anyway. One of the aliens looked uncertain. You are bluffing, am I? Your whole plan depends on no one knowing about it. But we know, and tomorrow everyone will know. Jake pulled out his phone and showed them the social media accounts he had created. Hundreds of posts about suspicious alien activity. Photos of the infiltrators. Maps of their meeting locations. One button press, and this all goes public. Your operation becomes worthless. The aliens stared at the screen. Their confidence began to crack. You would expose yourself as well, one said weakly. So, I'm not planning to commit mass murder. Kethver tightened his grip on their throats. Choose quickly. Information or death. The aliens looked at each other. Fear replaced arrogance in their eyes. Finally, one of them spoke. The bombs are hidden in the vendor trucks. 5 locations around the festival grounds. The triggers are set for noon, during the Unity speech. And the poison? Water supply for the VIP area. Norup H has already introduced the toxin. Jake felt sick. They had been planning to kill everyone, civilians and world leaders alike. Who else knows about the human Vorthek cooperation? Kethver asked. No one. We thought you were just a standard. Intimidation placement. Kethver and Jake exchanged glances. Their secret partnership was still their greatest advantage. Tie them up, Jake said. We have work to do. As they secured the captured infiltrators, Jake realized something important. The scared college student who had opened his door to Kethver 3 weeks ago was gone. In his place was someone who could look trained killers in the eye and make them blink first. Working with Kethver had changed him. Made him stronger. Tomorrow they would save Unity Day. Tonight they had become something the galaxy had never seen before, a human Vorthek team. Unity Day arrived with bright sunshine and crowds of excited people. Jake stood at his apartment window watching thousands of humans and aliens walking toward the festival grounds. They had no idea what was waiting for them. 5 hours until the attacks begin, Kethver said behind him. The alien was checking their makeshift equipment one last time. Rope, tools, and the weapons they had taken from the captured infiltrators. Are you ready for this? Jake asked. The question is whether you are ready. I am a predator. This is what I do. But you are not built for violence. Jake turned to face his roommate. 3 weeks ago, he would have agreed. Humans were weak, soft, peaceful, but 3 weeks ago, he had not known what humans could become when they needed to. Maybe violence isn't the only kind of strength. Kethver's red eyes studied him. Explain. You can fight one enemy at a time. I can turn enemies against each other. Their plan was desperate but simple. They could not fight 20 trained infiltrators directly, but they could create chaos and confusion. Make the hegemony's coordination fall apart. Jake had spent the early morning hours spreading carefully crafted misinformation through social media and anonymous tips. False reports of security sweeps. Fake messages about plan changes. Rumors that the operation had been compromised. Meanwhile, Kethver had been hunting. 3 more infiltrators were now tied up in an abandoned warehouse. Each capture had given them more information about the attack. Time to move, Jake said. They left the apartment together. Jake looked like any other festival attendee. Kethver had wrapped himself in a large cloak that hid his alien features. To casual observers, he might have been a tall human in costume. The festival grounds were already crowded. Food trucks lined the streets. Families walked between booths selling alien crafts and human souvenirs. Children pointed excitedly at the few visible aliens in the crowd. Jake's heart pounded as he spotted their first target. Veltar was standing near a food truck, pretending to read a festival program. But Jake could see the alien's real focus was on the security checkpoint nearby. Bomb truck number 1, Jake whispered into his hidden microphone. I see it, Kethver replied through the earpiece. Beginning approach. Jake walked casually toward Veltar while Kethver circled around behind the food truck. They had practiced this move a dozen times. "Hey," Jake called out cheerfully. "Veltar, right? From my building?" The infiltrator looked up with surprise. "Jake Martinez, what a coincidence. Great festival, isn't it? Have you tried the food from this truck? It smells amazing." Veltar's expression became nervous. "I was just leaving, actually. Oh, come on. Let me buy you something. It's Unity Day, humans and aliens eating together. Very symbolic." Jake grabbed Veltar's arm in a friendly gesture and steered him toward the truck. The alien tried to resist without causing a scene. "I really must go. I have other obligations." "Just one quick snack, I insist." They were almost at the truck when Kethver struck. The Vorthak emerged from behind the vehicle and wrapped two of his arms around Veltar's throat. The infiltrator had no time to cry out before he lost consciousness. Jake quickly helped Kethver drag the body behind the truck, inside the vehicle. They found the first bomb, a simple device attached to the truck's propane tank, set to explode at noon. "Disarmed," Kethver said after carefully removing the trigger mechanism. 4 more to go. They moved through the festival grounds like ghosts. Jake's social skills got them close to targets. Kethver's predatory abilities took them down silently. One by one, they eliminated the bomb threats, but the infiltrators were starting to notice that their people were disappearing. Jake was approaching the 4th truck when his phone buzzed with an emergency message. "Plan compromised. Initiate backup." Protocol immediately. The message was not meant for him. It was being sent to all hegemony operatives. Someone had figured out that their team was being hunted. "Kethver, they know. The attack timeline just moved up." "How long do we have?" Jake checked his watch. It was 11:30 a.m. The Unity ceremony was supposed to start at noon. Maybe 30 minutes? Around them, the festival continued peacefully. Families enjoyed food and music. World leaders were probably arriving at the VIP area right now. No one knew that death was closing in. "We need to split up," Jake said. "You handle the last bomb truck. I'll go after the water supply." "Too dangerous. We work together or not at all. There's no time. People are going to die if we don't stop both attacks." Kethver's mandibles clicked with frustration. "I cannot protect you if we separate. You don't need to protect me anymore. I can handle this." Jake ran toward the VIP area before Kethver could argue. Behind him, he heard the alien curse in his native language before heading toward the final bomb truck. The VIP section was heavily guarded. Human security officers and alien peacekeepers formed multiple checkpoints. Jake would never get through the official entrances, but he remembered something from his xenobiology studies. Service areas always had weaker security. The workers who prepared food and drinks for important people were usually ignored. Jake circled around to the back of the VIP area and found the catering entrance. He put on a confident expression and walked straight toward the door. "Excuse me," a security guard called out. "This is a restricted area. I'm with the food safety inspection team," Jake said, pulling out his student ID and hoping the guard would not look too closely. "Emergency check on the water supply. We got reports of possible contamination." The guard looked uncertain. "I wasn't told about any inspection, because it's an emergency. Do you want to explain to the president why you delayed a safety check?" The guard stepped aside. Jake walked into the catering area like he belonged there. Inside, he found chaos. Dozens of workers rushed around preparing food and drinks for the ceremony. No one paid attention to one more person in the crowd. Jake found the water station where drinks were being prepared for the world leaders. He scanned the area and spotted her. Norup H. was working at a beverage preparation table, wearing a catering uniform. She had not seen him yet. Jake moved closer, pretending to check other stations. Norup H. was adding something to a large container of water, a small vial of clear liquid. The poison. Jake pulled out his phone and started recording. He needed evidence of the crime. But as he moved closer, Norup H. spotted him. Their eyes met across the busy kitchen. Her expression went from surprise to rage in an instant. "You," she hissed. Norup H. reached for a knife from the preparation counter. Jake realized he had made a mistake. He was alone, outnumbered, and facing a trained killer, but then he remembered what Kethver had taught him. Humans were not strong, they were not fast. But they were unpredictable instead of running or fighting. Jake did something no one expected. He started shouting, "Poison! Poison in the water! The alien is poisoning the drinks." Every worker in the kitchen stopped and stared. Nora froze with the knife in her hand. "She put poison in the VIP water supply." Jake pointed directly at her. "Check the container." "Check the veil." Security guards rushed into the kitchen. Nora H. tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. The guards tackled her before she reached the exit. Jake watched as they found the poison vial and tested the contaminated water. The evidence was overwhelming. His phone buzzed with a message from Kethver. "Final bomb disarmed. All trucks secure." Jake smiled. They had done it. The attack was stopped, but the day was not over yet. Outside, Jake could hear explosions in the distance. Not bombs, fireworks. The Unity ceremony was beginning. He walked out of the catering area to find Kethver waiting for him. The alien had removed his cloak and stood openly in the sunlight. His crystalline exoskeleton gleamed. His 6 arms moved in complex gestures of relief. "You survived," Kethver said. "We both did." Around them, humans and aliens celebrated together. The festival continued peacefully. World leaders gave speeches about cooperation and friendship between species. No one knew how close they had come to disaster. No one except Jake and Kethver. "What happens now?" Jake asked. "Now we go home. And perhaps we stop being roommates and start being partners." "Partners in what?" Kethver's red eyes gleamed with something that might have been amusement. "In showing the galaxy what humans and Vorthek can accomplish together." Jake looked around at the celebration. Humans and aliens dancing together. Children playing games that mixed species traditions. Families sharing food from a dozen different worlds. This was what the hegemony had tried to destroy. Not just a festival, but the idea that different species could work together despite their fears. "You know what I learned?" Jake said. "What?" "Humans aren't weak. We're just getting started." Kethver's mandibles clicked in what Jake now recognized as laughter. The galaxy has no idea what it has awakened. As they walked home together, Jake realized that his life had changed completely. 3 weeks ago, he had been a scared student worried about rent money. Now he was part of something bigger. The housing program had promised that rooming with an alien would be fine. They had been wrong. It was better than fine. It was the beginning of something incredible.